Welcome back to another very special Wednesday interview. I am here, your officiant Kent, with Lee Canfield, the senior referee here at ACW. We're 2/3 of the referee birds, including Tony Stabile, who's not with us, but we'll have a referee birds episode coming up later on. Lee, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Ken. It's good to be here, man. I know I've been bugging you for like weeks about doing an interview, and I see all these jabronis do their interviews and they don't mention my name, and even the ones TMC that mention my name, they kind of like downplay it a little bit. So it's good to be here, man.
So I want to go back to the very, very beginning. When did you first discover wrestling? When did it enter into your life? When did it become a part of your life?
Oh, wow. I mean, I've probably been watching wrestling since I was, 7, 8 years old. Nothing beats, Saturday morning, waking up cartoons, and then wrestling came on like at 10, 11 o'clock, whatever. That was the greatest thing in the world. Growing up, Hulk Hogan was the greatest thing in the world. But living in Virginia at the time, we had access to a little bit different stuff, AWA, NWA. Those were I was more familiar with that than the WWF at the time. Like, that was my main thing where it started from. So it's been a long time, man.
What's your first solid wrestling memory, whether it's a performer, whether it's a specific promo, a specific match, a specific event? Like, for example, mine is WrestleMania 5. I remember watching that with my grandpa. But what's yours?
Well, I remember, and I'm really going to date myself here, we'd go to Errol's Video Club, and that was a long time ago. That was before Blockbuster. That was like predecessor to Blockbuster. So I'll just say Blockbuster. We'd go to Blockbuster like on a Friday night with the family, get like a Sega Genesis video game, and then grab a wrestling tape. So I remember seeing like I don't even remember the show, but it was like the Road Warriors versus the Russians with Ivan and Nikita Koloff like in a cage. Old like NWA matches. So this was, I don't even know, like, one of the first Starcades, like stuff like that. That's probably where I really remember. I think what really got me into a fan, and this will be really obscure, AWA did their Team Challenge series, where they took like the whole roster and they had captains, like Sergeant Slaughter, I think, was a captain, Larry Zbyszko was a captain, and the whole roster was divided in teams. It was like for $1 million. And I think at the end, like, Zbyszko stole the money, and that was like kind of the end of the AWA type thing. So that might be like one of my first real, like, I hold on to those memories. Everyone remembers WrestleMania 3. I remember the first WrestleMania, of course. Doesn't really jump out at me a lot, but WrestleMania 3 jumps out. But there's old, like, NWA tapes, like whether it be old, like I remember watching Night of the Skywalkers. Oh my God, to me that was amazing to see, Jim Cornette fall off the scaffolding and I think broke his leg or something. So yeah, that's probably my first time. I don't know if I can really pinpoint it, but probably along them lines,
So having witnessed the rock and roll wrestling, the new generation, Attitude Era, Ruthless Aggression, how do you think wrestling has changed for the better or for the worse over the generations?
Kind of split 50-50. I think it's changed for the better as far as the amount of opportunities these guys are getting, the stage that guys are getting put on for the world to see in the age of social media, just in general, things changing. There's way more access to the guys now than there was before. On the flip side, I like the old school style of wrestling. Growing up in the 80s, watching that style where it was real. You had fans who believed that this was real. You'd have like Eddie Gilbert and Jerry Lawler, where there was like riots going on, legit, because they thought it was real. So, like, from that standpoint of it, I think that's better. But for the guys, I think the new era is way better. Just like I said, they're making way more money than they ever would have made back then, just because of the access they have to the entire world now.
Now, you've played a variety of roles in wrestling. What was it that first made you decide, like, I want to get more involved with this, I want to get more invested with this, and then take us on the journey from there?
Well, we started, I kind of had gotten out of wrestling a little bit when my son was born. But then I got a call one day when I was at work saying, hey, we got this promotion in Manassas, Virginia called KIDA, Keep Your Dreams Alive. That's where like Sanjay Dutt trained at. Mickey James came through there a little bit training. They're going to start running again in legit like a hole in the wall, maybe 30, 40 people. So I was like, sure, let's start going. That turned into getting to know people and the excitement of being at a show again. which then turned into us filming shows in Maryland. At one time, we were filming almost every company in Maryland. RCW, Jimmy Dream, James Ellsworth Company, ACW. We filmed for them. Like 3 or 4 other promotions in Delaware, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We were filming everywhere. So that's how I kind of got into it. And then the owner of RCW one day kind of just skipped out of town, and we started looking at it like, no one buys DVDs anymore. So, and filming a show, some promoters didn't even care about quality. It was, there's a guy in the front row with a cell phone. That's good enough. Publicity is publicity. So no one wants to buy DVDs. No one wants to pay people to film shows. So then I took a little break, and then I came back to ring announcing, did some managing, and finally settled on refereeing. So I think I've done everything but wrestle. But I have wrestled for Kaiju, so I'm thinking I've done everything. I'm counting it as everything. But that's about, once it kind of went through everything, signing on refereeing, I'm too old. I'm getting old, Kent. So refereeing is kind of where I'm stuck at right now,
Well, I know you've shown me videos from kind of when you were doing the filming. You would do recap specials, you would do comedy specials. Go into more detail about that for the people watching at home.
Oh, Jesus, that was just craziness. We started, me and my friend Frank Lawson, Frank, I love you, back in Virginia. We started just filming stuff, more or less because we got to know a lot of the guys. This was before we even started filming shows, where we were like the Wrestling Nation. So we were filming shows and just filming snippets, like someone in the audience. Then we'd grab some people, do some little interviews. And then the more we got to know some of the guys, the more we were like, hey, let's start having fun, and we were filming stuff that we thought people wanted to see. Nothing serious, just joking around. And then we got asked to film for MCW, Maryland Championship Wrestling. It was like, oh my God, what are we doing? Can we do this? Had a falling out with MCW over some stuff we filmed backstage. Started a huge heat, like major issues in Maryland. We got approached by RCW, Real Championship Wrestling. They were going to be starting a promotion. We got asked, hey, come in, film for us. And my buddy Frank was like, oh my God, what are we doing? I legit sat in a room with the owner and all the people involved, and I was like, yes, we can make DVDs. I thought Frank was going to kill me because Frank was like, we know nothing about making DVDs. So I was like, we'll figure it out. And we figured it out, and we figured out multiple camera shots. But we still kept filming the funny, goofy stuff because we just wanted to have fun. This was never something serious. This was about popping people who would think it was funny. And like some of the videos we showed you, these are people that we cared about and people who we consider true friends in the business. And that's where it kind of came from. And then it's evolved into, filming shows and making DVDs and doing these recaps, and Frank learning green screen stuff. I mean, we had a huge green screen setup, to sitting up late night with Ethan Page, teaching him how to do multiple cuts, flipping between multiple camera angles. This was all Frank. I mean, I was just the idea guy. Legit, I'd be taking a shower and I'd be like, oh crap, idea, we got to do it. And I would leave it to Frank to figure out how to do it. And the kid was a genius, and he made it happen. So Frank made me look like $1 billion. So I love the dude for death. He's my brother. I love the kid. And that's really what happened. I mean, it just snowballed and went from nothing to something huge to then just back to nothing, and then I moved to Florida, and here we are.
So now let's talk about you going to training, because you mentioned that you were trained by Christian York. And what was that process like? What was the mindset going into it? What was that whole story?
Well, I mean, he really kind of pulled me aside and was like, I think this is something you should do. So it was a lot of learning how to, I already knew how to read matches from filming shows. I can read a match and tell you what's going to happen before it happens. Learning how to take bumps, learning how to work, but really I learned more or less from being thrown into the fire and just doing shows. Christian York, huge influence. That's my guy. Adam Flash gave me a ton of, this is what you should do, what you shouldn't do. But really it was learning from working as many shows as I got thrown into, messing up and failing and learning why I failed and how to correct the failure. That's really how it was. I mean, I don't believe, you've talked about it. I don't believe there's any schools that can teach a referee how to be a referee. I think the schools can teach you how to bump. I think schools can teach you how to work a match. To read a match and tell you what's going to happen. But without actually getting in the ring and doing it in real life situations, I don't think a school can teach that. So that's how I learned. I mean, I failed a lot. I messed up a lot. I was in the wrong spot. I got bumped into. I did everything I could to ruin matches, and then I learned, and I would get yelled at, and this is what you got to do to fix it. I would watch tape over and over and over again. I would study people, study what I did wrong, and kind of that's where I got to, And when I moved to Florida, I thought I was going to get out of the business altogether. I ran into Cooter, Brian Idol, who was running the WWE Training Center at the time. I knew him from up north. He was like, hey, come out to the school, and he got me back in, and he got me into ACW, WWN. He helped me out at the school some more. So, I mean, that's been the journey. It's been just a crazy, I know nothing to I still know nothing journey, but now I'm in Florida knowing nothing. So.
Well, and since then, you've appeared on television. You've worked some of the biggest names in the industry. Could you have ever foreseen this being where you'd be at now, or what you'd be doing now? What would you tell yourself back then? Would you be surprised back then, basically?
I would have been shocked. I mean, because there was a couple guys in West Virginia that really gave me a shot. Rob Wells used to run a company. He gave me a shot, and before I knew it, I was his only referee. He really trusted me, had faith. That's where I really learned to grow. And at the time, I was thinking, this is probably what it's going to be. I'm going to work a couple local shows. If I work maybe once a month, twice a month, I'd be happy. I didn't care. If I missed a month, no big deal. Moved to Florida, like I said, I thought it was going to be over. I was done. I got pulled in, and it took off, man. Like, Brian got me into ACW, and Heath and Kyle and the guys here trusted in me, and we had a little rocky start, but we got through it, and I'm here, and the people at WWN with Trevin and Sal and everybody have trusted me. So when I started working ACW, I put myself a plan. I was like, screw it, we're going to go for it. I'm working ACW. I want to be on FIP and Shine within a year. I did that within a year. My next goal was Evolve. I did Evolve at WrestleMania in New Orleans. I was very thankful for Gabe and everybody to do that for me. The MLW thing kind of just happened. DMC is actually the one who put me onto that and hooked me up there. So I kid DMC, but I thank the guy a lot because he didn't have to throw my name out there, but he did. I'm still shocked that this is what we're doing. I mean, between, I've worked MLW. If they ever come back to Florida, MSL, give me a call, please. If Gabe wants me for Shine or for Evolve, I'm there. But I'm working ACW, I'm working Shine, I'm working FIP. It's now giving me the opportunity to work like Full Throttle, to work Punk Pro. I was working for Tampa Bay Pro. I mean, that's how me and you really met. It's given me the opportunity to take off, and I'm surprised every day because I truly think, and I've told you this and I've talked about it, that I'm probably one of the worst referees you'll ever see in your life. That's how I feel, because I feel like if I start thinking I'm somewhere I'm not, that's when it's all going to drop. So I never think that way. I always want to get better, and I thank everybody for everything they've done for me, and I'm just as shocked as anybody that this is where I've gotten to. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, and I think that's so important because that once that complacency sets in, once that I'm the best, there's no getting better for me, I feel like that's when progress really does start to fall back and you start to get worse again. So being a referee, I can speak from experience, you can definitely speak from experience, is a very thankless job. It's a very underpaid job. And it's a job that I think is very often taken for granted by promoters, by fans, by wrestlers. Tell me more what your thoughts are about that.
Well, I think we hit a spot, and we may still be going through it actually, where I think most promoters think anybody can be a referee. That, I need a referee, I got a shirt, let me grab Billy from the front row or Johnny from the back, because they've seen wrestling, anyone can count to three. And, and while legit that may be true, you can teach anyone to count to three, but I don't think referees are looked at on the same level as they should be. We are an integral part of the match. We do help the match to tell the story that it is. A good referee, you'll never notice him, he's always there, but a bad referee can ruin the greatest of matches in the world. You could have two of the top superstars around today. If you have a crappy referee, the match is not going to be good. And that goes back to the training aspect of it. I think that because people think anyone can do it, I don't think a lot of places, like I told you, really get into the training and the psychology of being a referee, because there is more to it than I'm counting to 3, or I'm counting to 10, or I'm counting to 5, or I'm warning people. There's a reason why we do everything in the ring, and I think we're not, like you said, it's a very thankless job, because we've gotten to the point where anyone can supposedly do it. And you have just a lot of crappy referees, but because of that, you have anyone who thinks they can be a referee. So most of these cats haven't been trained. They've never stepped into a school. They've only seen wrestle on TV, so they think they can do it. And because you have a bunch of crap promotions, which Florida is the home of crap promotions, I'm sorry, it's just the truth, that now you've bred a whole bunch of crap referees. And you have these referees who feel that they are on some type of level because they work 2 crappy shows a month in front of 10 or 15 people, in front of with the same untrained talent they've been working with. They don't have a chance to get better. So it just breeds more and more bad refereeing. And there's only a few good referees, like really ones that stand out. Tony, I think Tony's amazing. Kent, I love what you do. Me and you've been working together a while. People are going to give me a hard time, but I do like seeing Frankie Gastineau as a referee. He's a damn good referee. But once we get outside of that, in my opinion, we start we fall to another tier, which is horrible, because that impacts everything. It impacts the show, impacts the fans, it impacts just everything going on, and I think it makes us all look bad,
Well, and I think, I consider you my trainer. I consider you my coach, my mentor, everything like that, and I do mean that seriously. This guy is #1 for teaching. I think that just like a wrestler, just like a promoter, just like anything, you need to get feedback and you need to get advice. And one of the things that I feel like is failing wrestlers and failing referees and failing every level of the business lately is people ask for advice, but they don't really want it. They want to be told they're doing well. I've always preferred that someone comes up to me and says, "You did a shitty job," and then explains to me why, versus, "No, it was great," because I know they didn't watch it seriously. I know when I mess up, but there's also things I don't see. Tell me more what you think about that from a coaching perspective and from a learning perspective.
I feel the same way you do. Like, there's times when I'll get people who send me messages, "Hey, can you look at this?" And I know that they don't really want me to tell them. I really have no problem telling someone this is what I think. And I always preface it by saying, look, I'm a horrible referee. This is just my 2 cents on what I think can change. But usually when you tell someone, then they fire back with, "Oh, well, this is why, this is why." So they don't even want to hear it. They don't even want to care. So, it's you kind of get to the point where you're like, why? And I hate to say it, but I'm slowly getting to that point where I don't know how much I want to help anymore. And I've told you, I will help anybody who ever asks for it. I'll give my advice. I'll do whatever I can. But we're getting to that point where no one is listening anymore. No one wants to listen to what you have to say. So, why even ask me my thought if you don't want to hear me tell you? But that also then filters back to, at the end of every match, I will go to the 2 guys in the ring and ask them, "What's up? What can I do wrong?" And you also have too many guys who won't tell you how they feel either. So I think it runs both ways. I think we need to get more people who are honest. This is what you messed up on. This is what you did good, what you did bad, what I think you can do better on. And I think people need to be more open, but we're getting to that point where, if I were to say, "Hey, Kent, I really think your count's too slow," you're going to get pissed off at me and be like, "Oh, screw Lee, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So why did you even ask me in the first place?" That's, I think, where we're getting to. And I it makes me not want to help people, which sucks, because I do feel I'm at the point, and I've told you and I've told people this before, I'm at the point where I will be 44 years old in a couple months. I have my spots. I want people to get their spots. So I want to help out any way I can, but I want people who actually want my opinion, not just want me to fluff them or BS them. I don't want to do that.
So what? I could go on an entire diatribe about the entitled generation and how it's affecting wrestling. That's a whole different podcast. But what were some of the biggest challenges for you in getting to where you're at as a referee? What were the hardest things for you to learn, like whether it was cadence, whether it was interacting with wrestlers, interacting with promoters? What was your biggest challenges?
And this is going to sound like I don't want to sound, But because I came in the way I came in with filming shows and being boys with everybody, it really wasn't a hard transition for me. Excuse me. From filming shows and reading matches, I've never think I've really had a problem being in the way. It happens. Sometimes you are in the way. Counts, to make sure my counts have been consistent across the board. That's probably been my biggest thing. But like I'm with my job in real life and what way we came into wrestling, I've never had an issue talking to anybody or BSing my way through something. So that part hasn't been an issue with me. Sometimes I feel like I don't take the initiative to maybe promote myself or reach out as much as I should, because there's guys who do it great. Like Frankie Gastineau is the best. He does it like nobody else does, and he gets everything that's given to him. It's deserved. I don't reach out like that, and I don't know if it's because I'm content. I don't think I'm content. But I also have a true 9 to 5. I got a wife who hates everything about wrestling, hates that I'm involved in this in any way. So that's probably my biggest challenge, is getting over with my wife and getting this going. And legit, that has been my biggest challenge, because she hates this so much.
Well, a lot of people talk about the difficulty of balancing family and wrestling. You know, I mean, you hear about stories about guys on the road in the WWE and stuff, how they never see their kids. They, miss birthday parties. How have you managed to find a better balance for that? How have you worked with having a fairly large family, that you're very close with, and I see you making time for? How have you made that a priority with everything this whirlwind of wrestling has done?
Again, this will fall back on me not maybe taking advantage of some of the things that I can. I always put my family first. I have my calendar down for everything that we're doing. I have my calendar for shows, and I mean, this is probably going to like kill everyone who's watching and the true wrestlers like that. But I have turned down bookings because of, the wife has planned we're going to Disney this day, or I know it's so-and-so's birthday, or I know what we're doing. So I've turned bookings down. I've been like, no, I'm sorry I can't make it, because I put them first. Now, there have been times where I already have a show booked and the wife will hit me with, hey, what are we doing? I already have a show. So, we kind of run 50-50, but that's how I balance it. I put them first, and that's going to kill everybody. But that's just the truth of it. They're the most important things to me. My wife, my son who's in Virginia, my stepson down here, my granddaughter, they are number one. So everything that they're booked out to do takes precedence over wrestling.
So now on a more lighthearted subject, what have been some of your favorite moments in wrestling? Whether it was doing the in front of the camera stuff, whether it was reffing particular matches or working with particular individuals, what were some of your top moments throughout your career?
Well, getting to know a lot of the people up north, that was a great time. For my birthday one year, Adam Flash took us to the arena where we saw like the first Dragon Gate show. We walked like right through the door, like through the back door. So we were like VIP for there. Getting to know Jay and Mark Briscoe and their family, that's just a whole different story altogether. Just this wacky of being in ACW and last year or Mania 2 years ago now in New Orleans, reffing AR Fox and Will Ospreay, who's the greatest wrestler in the world. That to me blew my mind. Getting to know a lot of the guys that down here has been great, like getting to know like Troy and Snoop and Hunter and you, and working with Jay Lethal was great. It's just been craziness. I mean, being on TV never has been a dream of mine. Like, I'm realistic. I'm not getting signed by the Fed. It's just not going to happen. But rolling into MLW and working Teddy Hart and John Hannigan, it's like, where am I at? This is some crazy, bizarre world. So there's been so much that's happened. But I think the greatest thing that's come out of wrestling is just the friendships and people that I've met and hung out with. Like guys back in Baltimore, like Ruckus, and up in Philly with the Black G's, and like I said, meeting the Briscoes and the guys from Chikara, and so many people who we've met and worked with who have now made it into the Fed, like working with Claudio Castagnoli and Sarah Del Rey, and working with these people who have now made it working with Drake Younger, who's refereeing WWE. That's to me has been the greatest part of the friendships we've made, and and when you run into these people you haven't seen in 3 or 4 years, it's like you didn't miss a beat. Wrestling's such a small world and small business. Everybody comes around. So people 3 or 4 years ago, you're going to see them again at some point, and they remember you, and you remember them, and you remember little times you had together, which may not have been important, but they stick out to you. That's what I take away most from this. The wrestling part of it, it's whatever. I love doing it, and I have a passion for it, but it's the friendships that mean way more than anything that we've done, so.
Are there any goals or any boxes you still want to check off in this business? Like, where would you like to be, or what would you have liked to have done in 5 years from now?
I'm getting to the point, like I said, I'm 44. I don't know how much longer I'm going to have. I could probably do this for another 15, 20 years. I get it. MLW, I love working with them, so I hope they come back down to Florida, get on TV with them. I would like to have a small run with somebody, Jay, Ring of Honor, somebody, just to see what I can do, to prove that this is, the years I've been doing this, that's led to something. Gabe, come on, get me back on Evolve. 10 years from now, I would like to hope that I'm still doing this and I'm still working hard. I would like to hope that anybody who's ever asked me for advice has made it somewhere. It would mean probably as much or more to me to see you or Tony or someone who I've helped make it. Like, that would mean as much to me or more to me than me making it myself. So 10 years from now, I hope I'm still doing it. I'm hoping somebody gives me a shot, at least one shot, to try to just see what I got. And I don't think it'll be the Fed, but if they call it, I ain't turning that phone call down. I'll be there. I'll drive to Orlando and be there in a heartbeat. But that's kind of what I see.
If you had to give advice to someone aspiring to get into the wrestling business, more specifically being a referee, I mean, you've given me tons and tons of good advice over the year and a half I've known you. What advice would you give to someone who's even just considering getting into it?
Well, I know everyone always says don't get into the business. I would say if you're looking to be a legit referee, definitely go to a school. And I know I'm contradicting because I say schools don't really teach referees, but you need to go to a school, like a reputable school, whether it's Tampa Bay, WWN, Monster Factory up north, New Orleans with Wildcat, whatever. Get in with a legit promotion, a legit company to train you. Learn the ins and outs. Find yourself a mentor, someone who's been in the business for a while that you can bounce ideas off of and talk to. That would be my advice. I definitely wouldn't say just be that guy in the front row and say, hey, I can referee. No, do it the right way. Get trained by a legit trainer, not someone who says they've done something in this business who never have, but someone who legit has credentials. Team 3D, whatever, get trained. Start networking, get someone to mentor you, start doing it the right way, being at shows, setting up, tearing down, helping out wherever you can help out. That would be my advice to anyone who's aspiring to do this, whether you're a wrestler, referee, even ring announcers, I don't care. That's the route you should go.
Now, I put everybody on the spot with this final question, so I'm going to do it with you as well. If you could change one thing about the business, whether it's backstage, whether it's in front, whether it's the audience, whether it's the pay, whether it's whatever it is, what one thing would you change about wrestling?
From more of a personal standpoint, I would like to see more promotions do more promoting to get more butts in seats so the boys and everybody gets paid better. I think you have too many promotions who don't really, they'll put out an ad on Facebook and that's it. They don't do promotion, or they leave it to everybody else to do the promoting. No one wants to take that step, and then they wonder why they have the same 30, 40 fans at every show, even when it's a big show. I would like to see the promotions try more promoting themselves, more invested in their own product and their own company, so then the boys in the back get paid more, referees get paid more, everybody across the board makes more money. That's where I would like to see. Very few companies do it to a level where everybody's making crazy money, and I know crazy money is different everywhere you go, but a more consistent pay would be better. Like if if you knew coming in that you were going to make, I'm just going to throw a number out, $50 every time you came to a show, then you're doing something right, But if you're coming to a place and you're getting paid, handshakes or hot dogs or $5 or $10, either you got a horrible promotion or they're just not doing their job and there's nobody at their shows. That's what I would like to see. In this day and age, there's nothing stopping companies from being out to the world for everyone to see what they do. It just doesn't happen.
Last but not least, what would you like to promote? What would you like to plug? Your own social media, companies that people can see you at?
Well, check me out on Facebook, Lee Canfield. That's the name I go. I don't have a gimmick name. That's me. Twitter, Instagram, Godly TV. Check it out. There. Shows come ACW every Wednesday night, Gulfview Event Center. I know Punk Pro's coming up. FIP's coming up. There's a ton of shows coming up. I think I got 12 or 13 shows this month alone. Just check me out, check Ken out, check everybody out. I mean, Tony Stabile, check out Frankie Gastineau, check out Billy Grace. I don't care. Check out everybody. I want everybody to get on. Check them out. Check out Julie. She's an up-and-coming referee. Check out everybody. I just want everyone to get where they're going and be someone and do their thing. So check everybody out.
Well, Lee, thank you so much for joining me. We've got a show to do, so let's get to it.
Thanks, man. I hope everybody please follow this dude. He's damn good. I love this kid with my heart. I have given him advice. He doesn't need advice anymore. Check this dude out. Turnbuckle Trash Talk. Check that out. Please come to the shows. We want you to be part of it. We want everyone to succeed. So please come.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next time.